Absolutely. Mine
Yeah.
was like 30 minutes, but it made a difference.
Oh my God. Yeah. That just gets to show you how much like we're working.
Yeah.
Crazy. Let's see. Okay, so we should be all good on the chart side.
All right. Awesome.
I sent my link in. You got rid of the waiting room?
Yeah.
Cool. Got everyone in here. Praveen, Quentin. All right, cool. What's up, guys? All right, I'm ready to roll.
All right. Awesome. So I'm going to quickly go over one article because most of it we've already covered in our weekly outlook. And then if you guys have any other questions from a fundamental side, then, let us know. But a quick recap of what we have going on so far before we even jump into the article is we have a lot of geopolitical tensions, right? Let's start off from that side. Still, Russia, Ukraine, G7 stepped in and they're providing aid to the Ukraine. And then we also saw a lot of nations, about 20 nations, stepping up and providing weapons to Ukraine as well. And then IMF and some of these international organizations coming together and providing more aid to Ukraine in the war. On top of that, we still have post Brexit conversations going on between the UK and the EU with Northern Ireland. So there is a bill that the UK is still kind of discussing or is going to start discussing very soon. And then if that is passed and if UK does enact on that bill regarding Northern Ireland, then EU said that it will step in and take all the measures necessary against UK. So you still have those tensions between those two nations. On top of that, you still have the US and China tensions as well, where Biden just came back after making a trip in Asia, and when he was asked if US will intervene if China does, forcefully try to take over the Taiwanese islands, then Biden said that he will do that. So there's political tensions there as well. Tomorrow, so on Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, the State of Secretary is going to make a speech about the U.S. policy regarding China. So that's going to be a very important news to watch out for as well. I don't think it's in the economic calendar, but we saw it in yesterday's trade breakdown when I was doing that with the group. So tomorrow is going to be an important day if you guys are looking from an economic perspective when it comes to geopolitical tensions. So overall, we do have a lot of tensions rising with a lot of the leading countries in general. And then you also have the global inflation issue, right, which is caused by, of course, the near zero interest rates that a lot of nations have had for almost 2 years now, and the rising prices, and then also the Russia and Ukraine war. On top of that, China had a lockdown recently, right? So that was also affecting the overall global supply chain issues. So we have that inflation issue, global inflation issue that a lot of countries are battling with. And then to combat that, a lot of central banks are increasing interest rates, and some central banks have increased interest rates to a level where the consumers are no longer comfortable, and the investors see that. So obviously that is not optimistic for that currency. And to name one, it would be the pound when we hit that 0.75% interest rate, and then we saw the investors, getting a little bit fear in the market, and then retracing back, we saw the pound kind of losing some strength. And as discussions were going on with the US dollar, there was the sentiment that we are going to continue to increase interest rates by half basis point hikes in the next 2 months, and then we're going to roll back to quarter basis point hikes in September. But now the discussion is coming to, well, can we actually even afford to do 2 basis point hikes in the next 2 months? Or even is that kind of pushing it too much and we have to kind of maintain the interest rates instead of increasing them at all? So that's pretty much what's going on from the macroeconomic perspective of what we have been seeing so far. Now, to quickly go over this article, and then I'll pass it over to Stefanos for the technical side, and for the rest of the session, is the UK recession risk makes Bank of England wary of acting on inflation. So same thing for the US as well. We have seen articles and sentiments that if we continue to increase these interest rates, then can we essentially fall back into a recession? And that's what's causing fear in investors on the equity side, and also when you're looking at safe haven currencies and commodities increasing in strength. So investors are already trying to take in that if we are going to continue to increase interest rates, then we could essentially fall back into a recession. So they're not waiting for it to happen, they're already anticipating that as these actions are taking place. So the Bank of England needs to tighten their policy further to fight rising inflation, because that's the key action or the key tool that a lot of central banks have to fight against inflation. It's to increase interest rates. It has an inverse relationship. But they're also wary of acting too quickly and risking pushing the UK into recession. So as we continue down, some of the issues that the UK specifically is having is of course inflation, but also the rising cost of living that a lot of consumers are not able to afford. You're starting to see a lot of the business also moving out of the UK, especially on the financial side post Brexit, when a lot of the companies there were not able to provide their services in the EU. They needed middleman in the EU to kind of represent them, but that was additional cost. Because of COVID, we know that a lot of the business were shutting down, so they moved out, right? They thought that it was much better to just move into EU or other nations and actually do business in EU than it is to stay in the UK and kind of be limited to their options. So we have those issues as well. You still have this somewhat of a gap in the labor market between employees and employers, where there's a lot of people who are still trying to get out of the current sectors that are working in, or the current sectors that they were working in prior to COVID, and move into other sectors where they're able to get higher pays. So these are some of the issues that UK in general is still struggling with, and of course COVID is now starting to come back into headlines. So now there's this fear of, if we continue to increase interest rates to fight inflation, and there's also these cost of living issues and all these other issues that are pretty much going on that are affecting the consumers and businesses, can we risk going back into a recession? And how is the central bank going to react then? So that's pretty much what this article is about. If you guys want to continue reading it, then you can come up and just look at this article title. Just type it in and you guys should be able to see it for free on other sources. And then going on to the economic calendar real quickly. So far we have been seeing some good news today, where you've seen ECB president speaking. You also had the ECB financial stability review. We just had Bank of Japan's governor speaking. He is still speaking actually. And then at 30 minutes into New York session, we're going to have the core durable good orders and the durable good orders. When you look at PMI yesterday, we see that for the most part, the Euro, the UK, and also the US, our economies are starting to slow down, and that's what these numbers are reflecting. Where on the manufacturing side and services side, we're starting to drop these numbers. Instead of showing expansion, we're kind of moving towards contraction. As long as we remain above 50, again, the generic sentiment is that you're still in expansion, but we start to see these numbers drop, and obviously that tells us something about the consumers, especially on the services side. And then going after that, I expect the volume to kind of die down until the FOMC meeting minutes come out, and then that to kind of be the catalyst for any sort of volume before we're pretty much done, because of bank holidays coming into London session. And then Thursday is going to be prelim GDP tomorrow, and then on Friday is going to be the core PCE price index, which is inflation minus food and energy. So with that being said, if you guys don't have any questions on the fundamental side, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Stefanos.
All right, what's going on? Great coverage, Sharma. Hope everyone's having a great morning so far. All right, and we're live on YouTube, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, everyone ready for the charts? Ready for the technical breakdown?
Let's do it.
Listen, that's a yes. All right. So looking over here at the monthly on GJ, again, you guys have seen us bouncing off this 156 area. We came right back down to that consolidation or retested over here, and it looks like we're getting a little bit of a bounce. The month is coming to an end, so I can't expect it closing somewhere around where it is right now. I don't expect any kind of crazy moves unless we like completely bounce off certain areas. Like this is 158 over here. So can we bounce off 158 pretty hard and continue up, or are we going to continue back down? And it looks like we may be continuing down. Where we created this wick, we retraced a little bit, and now we may close a little bit stronger of a body somewhere around here or anywhere in this area. But again, we have 5 days left for the monthly to close. So we'll see where we're at on the lower time frames. Looking at the weekly now. The weekly, since tapping in at 167,500, the previous level here to the left over here, previous support, since tapping into that level, we've been rejecting that level pretty hard, right? So what you have are these lower lows, lower highs being formed. We now have a possible wick that we could fill right over here, and we also have a lower high on the current weekly candle, right? This current weekly candle is flipping bear, it did flip bearish, right? It is bearish right now. Can we be continuing back down to 156, or will we hold support here at 158, where we actually did hold a support with this bullish candle? Anytime you follow a bearish candle, right, with a bullish candle, you form support. But not to mention you're at that previous resistance right over here now. Obviously, that's a very strong level. So can we hold that as a support and possibly continue back up with any kind of positive sentiment coming out of GBP? I mean, from what Sharma was saying, it doesn't sound like there's much positive coming out of there. So maybe we do continue down and follow the trend that we're in right now. Looking at the daily now. Daily, again, we formed a lower high again and closed a very strong bearish candle over here. Last night, we had a top wick formed on the daily candle during the Asian session, and now we are currently flipping bearish to continue down. With these lower highs being formed, you could see the bearish pressure coming in. And now we failed, sorry, we failed to break above this resistance over here, right? Close above and continue up. We ended up printing that lower high for now price to continue down. So if we can break 158 over here, I fully believe that we could be heading for 156 again, mirroring the move to the left and continuing back down to this area. Full disclosure, I am in GJ sells right now. I was able to take it while Sharma was doing her breakdown, and we may be able to grab some as well if you guys haven't gotten in yet either. But we had that 800 level being breached over here. You'll be able to see it in the lower time frames, and you're playing it based on these higher time frames, based on the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour. These higher time frames, the way they're forming out, it looks beautiful, like for a price to continue back down. So can we fill this wick over here? I believe so after a strong candle close like that. So let's go to the 4 hour now and see what we are playing with. So 4 hour, you could kind of see this trend kind of being respected here. So price has been forming these lower highs, lower lows over here, lower high. Now price bouncing off this area. Holding that resistance over there. Pushed all the way back down to 158 over here. We're traced a little bit. Zoom in for you. We're traced up into this area to hold a resistance, reject. I like this rejection candle right here. It's crazy that this candle, not crazy, but I wish this candle had more of a top wick, but it passed below that candle and just dropped. And now we're right back down at this support over here on the 4 hour. So looking at the 1 hour now. So 1 hour, we can start adjusting things. So obviously you guys know this is a key level that we need to break through. We consolidated over there. But looking at the more recent support and resistances, you have this level right here, which was clearly important for price to be tapping into before continuing back down. We had our lower high. Price had some terrible data coming out of the UK this week. So we just, continued these lower highs, lower lows, tapping 158 perfectly, and then now we've been retracing, right? Since tapping that area, we've been making these higher highs and higher lows back up to that previous resistance, failed to break that area, got a nice bearish close last night, or actually this morning, right? Closing below this area, and now we're just continuing down, printing lower lows, lower highs, right, well on our way to 158,400. Which are these candle body lows over here, and then eventually maybe filling this wick at 158. Right? So that's the 1 hour.
Real quick, before you hop onto the 30-minute, on the hourly, would you mark off these candle support areas where price is bouncing off of right now to see
Right here.
if, yeah, to see like if we get like some form of break and retest or something like that before we continue pushing down, and then
Okay.
target, what's that, 20 pips or so from 600 to 400.
Yeah, it's 20 pips. So can you grab that move is what you're asking?
Yeah, so basically, because the way that I see it right now is if price continues pushing, it's reacting off of this level here, right? That has been held as support multiple times. So if it can break below that, given that there's been a massive sell, give us like some form of break and retest either into the zone, and then as it breaks this, then look for the sell, or wait for some form of, let's say, top wick rejection right when the news comes out or something, and then continues pushing down. So either of
Absolutely.
those, right?
Multiple options that could happen. I am in sales right now, so I would like it for it to just drop. But like for everyone else's case and also mine, like for a re-entry, we could always hold that resistance right here and then continue this thing back down with some New York volume pushing us through this support.
Yeah.
All right. What was I gonna say? I was looking specifically at this level right here, this 800 level. We were actually talking about it in the chat this morning. You have this level right here that price has been rejecting multiple times. This candle actually rejected it as well. And then we finally got a rejection or a top wick formed and a
Yeah.
close below that level with this candle. We retested this range and then we flipped bearish, continuing down. Now we're tapping into here. Are we going to be able to push through that and continue back to these candle bodies? I think we can. But like I said, we'll see. Like Strava said as well. Um, yeah, the candles are starting to flip. 15 minutes flipping bearish over here. So again, this is that level, that 800 level I was just talking about. We got that rejection off that candle. Then we got a healthy close below with this candle. You wait for this candle to create its top wick, flip bearish, and you take this thing down. So that's that. This is kind of, I basically caught this candle body as it is right now. And I was able to secure around 15 pips at this support. I have another position running for that to continue back down to the support. I'm gonna let that thing run. Yeah, see, as you can see, the 30-minute is now passing the low of the previous. The question is, if you're not in yet, do you want to take this or do you want to wait for that close below the support if you think that's a strong enough support, right? That's going to be up to you. But right now, it does look good for it to continue back down. I hope we get a close below this area. And if we do, if you didn't catch this yet, you got about 35 pips right here that you could be grabbing.
Yep.
So I'll just mark this off for you guys real quick. Safe sells. Oh, safe sells are going to be below that 600 level. Beautiful. There we go. All right, so just waiting on GJ now. I thought I was going to point something else out. I think that's it. Let's go back up to the higher time frames to reanalyze this. Just because I like doing that after breaking down all the lower time frames. Just looking back at the higher time frames and understanding some of the levels. It gives you a better understanding of where price is at and what you're looking at once you do so. So again, we have this wick to fill. We have some solid clean moves on this 4 hour to continue back down to 158 over here. Right now we're breaking through. Very strong 4 hour candle right now, pushing. Right, so looking at the 1 hour again, strong 1 hour candle. It's 7:35, so always understanding the time. The beginning of the 30-minute candle, which already created its top wick, and is now passing the low of that candle. So I could really expect it to continue to push through here with the timing, right? Understanding candle body anatomy and the timing of the candle and how like the beginning of the candle creates that top wick first, second half of the candle passes the low and continues that volume push. So does anybody have any questions regarding GJ right now?
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty good?
Yep.
All right,
Is
awesome.
someone unmuted? Because I hear noise in the back.
Okay, let's participants. Oh, let's do this. Oh, you know what that might be? That might be my dog with his water bottle. Do you hear like a dog biting on his water bottle?
No, I heard like talking and stuff.
Okay. Can you hear him?
No.
Okay, cool. Guess my mic isn't that good. All right, let's go over to gold real quick. Looks like we're starting to reject this area a little bit. Let's take a look at the lower time frames and see how we're reacting in this area. That's where I use the lower time frames. So are we forming some kind of a support in here? Are we bouncing off at all? I mean, this candle's bullish, but that's not telling me yet that we're starting to bounce off this area and reject it. So we'll keep an eye on GJ right now. Keep an eye on this screen specifically so that good in that direction. All right, so let's go over to gold now and take a look at the monthly. So monthly, again, we've if you guys have watched our weekly breakdown, we were talking about this certain level that we've been bouncing off of since 2019, right? Bullish trend, higher lows being respected, price just pushing up. We got a nice push out of. So you had this range right here, 1830, between 1830 and 1750. We were ranging through, and then we finally got the attack of Ukraine, or not finally, but the attack on Ukraine ended up pushing us up to all-time highs over here, retesting previous highs from COVID, right? And ever since tapping into that area, we've been bearish. And we've been bearish because once we got to that area, there were a little bit of talks going on between Russia and Ukraine, nothing too, nothing that was getting anywhere, but it was starting to calm the markets down a little bit. But the main reason we tapped this area and just started tanking was the sentiment that the Fed was going to increase rates. All right, so that's always going to move gold down. All right, it's going to strengthen the dollar, and gold is going to continue back down, just like we had back in 2008 when they started raising interest rates back in 2012 and 13 once the market started getting back to normal a little bit. All right, so you can use this history for yourself moving forward in today's day and age, understanding the way price may be shaping out with the fundamentals in the background, where price could be continuing right back down to like 1680 if that's the case. If they continue to raise interest rates and there's not as much fear in the market, that's where I could see price going, or even further than that. But like I said, we'll see. I don't think the economy is stable enough to have successful rate increases without the market just tanking, which it's doing right now. So now looking over here, the monthly candle refused to stay below 1830. The reason I was talking about 1830 is because we came back down to that area and we broke it. We also broke the bearish trend over here, but we ended up rejecting it just like we did over here with this candle as well, and now we're starting to reject it with this candle. Could we be holding that support here to continue back up? All right, let's go back to GJ for a quick second so you guys get a good idea. Is anybody else in GJ right now? Give me 1 second, too. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so GJ, we ended up getting that 5-minute close below the support. Looks like at the 15-minute, we got about 5 minutes left for this to close. Looks like we're clearly breaching this area over here and continuing down. All right, so I'm about 23 pips in profit. I'm going to wait for 25, and then I'm going to secure a lower piece.
I didn't get into GJ, but I was looking at US 30, so I was able to get into that.
Beautiful. Yeah, you've been trading that lately, huh?
Yeah, I waited because the bullish run for like 2 years.
Yes.
I was waiting for corrective moves, and so when that started happening after like that consolidation based off of the monthly and weekly and all of that, finally start to see that turning into a bearish move. So then that's where I started actually looking more into US 30, and the fundamentals are aligning too, right? So.
Oh yeah. It's almost like easy to trade. I mean, you with your fundamentals and just, I mean, the amount of pips you get, the volume.
Yeah.
And then everything going on, the sentiment behind the market right now. It's just everything's lining up for you.
Absolutely.
It's a good time to get back into it.
Yeah, I was looking into maybe, and you and I could discuss this, but maybe we can start incorporating US 30 analysis on days that we do have a little bit of extra time.
Yeah, maybe we can do it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it after gold. There's a couple things like we have a couple guys in the group that have been trading a couple different pairs that we've been looking at on a daily basis too. It's
Yeah.
best when they send a chart, which they do. And then we'll go back into our charts. Like I have a couple markups of pairs like EJ again that I'm marking up again for them. I
Yeah.
got silver that we got one member trading. I don't know if Jamie's in here. I'm sure he is.
Mm-hmm.
Guy shows up every day. So we got silver that we've been looking at. Look at GJ go. So yeah, we'll definitely break down US 30 today. I just wanted to break down this trade really quickly, and the reason I took it is because of this formation right here around that 800 level. We had this support forming. I took this based on the higher time frames. You know, the 4 hour obviously was lining up. The 1 hour was looking beautiful with this 1 hour candle closed below. I took it as this candle flipped bearish on the 1 hour and continued down. But understand the way candles line up over here. It looks like I took this on the candle flip of the 1 hour, which I was planning, but it was also done based on these lower time frames. 30-minute candle closed below support. This candle respecting that wick, grabbing liquidity, flipping bearish over there. So you could have said I took it as the 30-minute flipped as well to continue down. But looking at the 15-minute, this is, I mean, not typically my setup, but I love taking setups like this. I just don't like a lot of these wicks, but I was confident in price continuing down from here. You have this support over here. This candle closed below. You get this deep liquidity grab and rejection of this whole area right up here with this candle, and it closed below this level as a weak bullish candle. As long as this candle creates its top wick and never passes the high of that candle, and then passes the low of that candle with that 7:15 a.m. volume, or 7 o'clock volume as a whole, I know that price can continue through here and retest this low at least, and then obviously leave that second position to continue back down to 158, 230, 250, somewhere in here.
Perfect.
I hope that makes sense to everyone. So we'll see where we're at. I already secured once on the, you know what? See, what we did right here is we just tapped into this area. These candle bodies over here. Look how overextended we are on the 30-minute, right? So how, like, what are the chances we get some kind of a pullback into this area? I'm actually break even, by the way. But what are the chances we get some kind of a resistance right here, like what we were talking about before, where we hold resistance and then continue back down? Again, you have 40 pips right here that you could take advantage of, right? So it's not far-fetched for you to be able to grab and move inside of here. See, with the 15-minute, strong 15-minute close below that level we were just talking about, are we just going to continue right down, or are we going to get some kind of a retracement back down to retest lows?
Yep.
All right, so again, back to gold over here. Keep monitoring that. Gold, again, rejecting that 1830, 1750 range and closing above. Actually, not closing yet, but it may. But we are above 1830 and above this trend line. Looking at the weekly, we ended up adjusting this trend line just a little bit over here yesterday, where it kind of makes sense, where we bounced off this level, support, kept bouncing off these levels over here, and now we're bouncing off another level over here, kind of tapping into 1830 over here, right? And then tapping into 1830 and then closing back above, like a deeper pullback to continue back up, right? So we're all the rate hikes kind of priced in right over here, and now we have a lot of fear in the market, right, of the rate hikes, I mean, doing something, but also hurting the market and everything. Could we be holding support here and then continuing back up with more fear in the market? I mean, it could happen, but we'll see. The current weekly candle also is getting a little weaker. It looked like we had a nice little run from this area, and now this candle's starting to weaken out just a little bit. Now, looking at the daily, Again, we tapped into 2000 and we've been putting lower lows and lower highs ever since. We tapped into this area right here. If you look to the left, previous consolidation, right over here, we consolidated for about 2 weeks over here until we finally broke out. And every time we tap and hold support in this area right here, we just rally. So we're doing so right now. Can we hold support? Let's say if we're looking at more recent support and resistance, it looks like what we did right here was break this previous resistance right over here, right? Previous support as well. So we broke through it. Are we now coming down to retest this whole area and hold support and then continue back up? Or are we going to break back below this area and we're just forming a lower high over here to continue right back down and retest lows, right? Just adjusting shit over here. Why is that not working? Give me 1 second. It's weird. MetaTrader just closed my position out. Oh well, whatever. Good win. About 30 something pips. But anyway, again, bouncing off this level over here, higher highs and higher lows. We just created a new high. Are we coming down to create a higher low to then continue up, or are we breaking back below this area? I'm also looking at this whole area right here. We had a previous resistance over here to the left. Resistance over here. And then Sharma, you were pointing out the other day. Yeah, it was this level over here. So the level we just bounced off of, the weekly level, strong level over here, if you look to the left, is that previous resistance and last tap of gold before continuing back down in 2012 with the increase in interest rates. Right, so now that's that same exact area that we're looking at over here that we're now bouncing off of to continue back up. But yeah, like I said, you have this level over here that we could be rejecting right now and maybe holding support. If we hold support, could we continue through that level back up to 1885?
Yes, sir.
No,
That's the weekly level and the monthly.
What was that?
Weekly and the monthly levels.
Yep. So now what we do is I'm adjusting this just a tad over here. You have this wick right there. You got that support. Now we have a support right over here and a big range in here. We are printing higher lows, right? Ever since our price action over here on gold was broken, lower lows, lower highs. We had a little bit of a channel here if you want to draw that too. We finally broke out holding the support. Got the bullish pressure over here, right? Higher low, higher low, higher low. Can we be forming another higher low? We're respecting this support over here and then continuing back up. All right, now look at the 1 hour. Now, again, you have that strong support over here. Now it looks like we're starting to bounce off that area, right? Looking at the, I just want to look at the current trend that we're respecting to see if we could be getting like a deeper pullback from that 1870 area. Since tapping into this area, we ended up, if you take a look, we had this high that was created, right? We come back down to the support, hold support 3 times, and then break that high, right? Creating this high up here. But then what we ended up doing was like faking this level out right here and coming back down into the range. So can we hold support and continue up, or are we going to end up breaking this support, coming back down to this area, grabbing liquidity, and then continuing back up from there, right? It could very well happen. We'll see what ends up happening right now. But what you see level-wise and it's a little bit of a range right here, right? Prices really putting sideways. You have this level right here that we finally just closed below, right? You had this previous rejection area of resistance over here to the left. We finally broke below and created this low over here. So are we going to retest this area to possibly continue back down to that support and retest it again?
That 1865, 1850 area, or 1865 area that you have marked off, if you extend that, yeah.
Okay.
So if you were to extend that over to the left, even on the hourly time frame, and then you hop up to those higher time frames, you'll see how price reacts to it multiple times, right? And the fact that it has done similar price action in the sense that there has been consolidation here previously. But again, when you start to see like that messy price action with fake outs and corrections and everything like that, that's usually a good time to hop up to some of these higher time frames. So then in this case, you would see that, for example, price was pushing up bullish here on the 4-hour time frame after tapping into this. So then obviously after creating those highs and then coming back into these key areas, it's important for us to do some sort of corrective move, right? And then it starts to make sense, like, okay, this is probably where we're headed, but yeah, you have that bullish trend, but as soon as price breaks below this, then that's how you know you're breaking out of that bullish trend. Until then, all of this is still valid, right? Because price is just tapping into areas of liquidity.
Absolutely. So again, like this candle right over here, this current 4-hour candle, the previous one really didn't have a top wick either, but this one doesn't have much of a top wick, and it's starting to reject this whole area right here. And then I'm looking at this area too. You had like some kind of a support formed over here. You had this bearish candle close above that level, and then this candle ended up holding a support there. Could this have been a fake out? This move right here, with price continuing back up, and then over here now we're starting to tap into that area. We're starting to reject it. So can we be continuing up from here? So it's a little confusing, like Sharma was just saying, as far as like where price could be going. Right now, it looks like the 1 hour is starting to reject this area right here. 30 minute again created this low right over here. Can we be forming some kind of a resistance in this area? And if we just move this, we know that's a strong level right there. If we just adjust this with more recent price action, you got that resistance or that support held again, broke through. Can we hold a resistance right here and take price right back down? Right, you got about 50, 60 pips right in here that you could possibly grab part of the sells. All right, we're respecting this trend. Could be tapping off this area and forming that resistance to retest the lows over here.
Does anyone have any questions about anything that was covered so far? Make sense?
Cool. I know Jamie just sent a chart in there. Let's go back to GJ real quick. GJ, we're starting to get that retracement over here. So what I'll do is just kind of mark this up for you guys first. And, you know, anybody in Sharma's group too, does anybody want to see how I journal? I could just journal this trade really quickly in the next 5 minutes for you.
Go for it.
See how I do it? Okay, cool. So what I like to do is typically go to the higher time frames, the daily, and just get a quick screenshot of what we're looking at. I guess I don't have that label up there. It's GJ. I'm going to go to current journal right now. Normally I have it on the other screen over here. This is a really well managed loss on GJ last night. Let's go over to today. So the screen's bigger than the other screen. Okay, so what I do is I start with a title. Now this was obviously a short. I sold it. So we're gonna say short the pair GJ plus. I want to see exactly how many pips I've gotten. So I'm gonna write in the number in a second, but plus how many pip gain. So pip gain on the date 5/25/22 at what time was it? So we'll check the time again. I believe it was around like 7:15, but I'd like to get it at the exact minute that we actually enter that trade, especially as volume traders, as impulse traders, as scalpers. We're looking for those volume pushes. So if you could find the time window when you normally get those volume pushes and you're writing that down in your journal, that's going to help you a lot, right? So um, time, and then the day, Wednesday, and then the session, New York. All right. So we create that little template right there. And then what I'll do is I'm going to just start dragging screenshots over here from the daily, the 4 hour, copy and paste them. And if you guys don't know what this is Trello. I'm sure all of you guys do by this point. I'm not sure if you have any new members, Sharma.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, so yeah, this is Trello. It's a great software for journaling trades. This is the 4 hour now. Screenshot of that. 4 hour looks great. Clean price action. You get the 1 hour. So now what you can do is just start labeling, and you don't have to go crazy, but obviously put some effort into it. One, actually, this is going to be 2. Resistance held to the left.
What I like to do is put the analysis on the chart itself, and then when you go back to your Trello, like in the description, I like to put in like the fundamentals and stuff. So you can put in legit like links of articles and things like that. So then later on, if I want to come back, let's say in like a year or two, for whatever reason, I come back and I'm like, hey, similar market conditions or something like that, then I can just go back, click on the article, and then kind of go through that and then compare the sentiments and fundamentals of where we're sitting at, and can we expect to see similar moves. So that's something that you guys can also try out, but try to put like as much analysis on the chart itself, so then you understand what's going on.
Yeah, you're talking about the description section.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a place I used to. I don't think it was as cost effective, or not cost effective, but like time cost effective, where I would like basically detail everything that I already wrote on the charts, right? And I did that for a long time just because I liked having the detail on there and I could read through all my thoughts.
Yeah.
But like really just have a couple bullets in there and just jot down a few of your thoughts, but put mainly all of your analysis on the chart so that you could just flip through all the screenshots and just go through them and understand them. That way you get through more journals. You get through more journal trades that you can now go back into and see, okay, this is a trade I would have taken. Or, this is a trade I lost. This is a trade I won. This is how I would have been better with it. And that's how you get better.
And another thing, if I could add, is that what really helped me out was also putting like a lesson that I learned from like each trade. Like it could be something as simple as like, next time be more patient, or took an entry 15 minutes before the market opened up, so wait for the market to open up, or anything like that, right? It could be something really simple. And then or like follow your trading plan, like this trade was outside of my trading plan, and then do like a lesson at the end of the week. So if you have made the same mistake multiple times that week, then maybe that's your lesson of the week, and then the following week, that's what I focus on not making that same mistake again.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's one thing that I do. I can show you an example of it too. Kind of what Sean was talking about. It's called the later analysis, where like you guys will be able to go into if you guys are journaling, you'll be able to go back into your journal, maybe even 2 weeks down the road from today, from a journal today, and you could look at that journal and be like, what the hell was I even thinking? Like that builds confidence right there because you now feel yourself as a better trader. Right, you just got 2 weeks of back testing and 2 weeks of live experience, and that's a long time. That's a lot of trades to go through, a lot of market time to go through. Obviously, it's around 2.5, 3 hours every morning. So, like, you're getting that experience, and the only way you could truly see it and build confidence with that is through going through your journal and being like, I wouldn't have taken this trade, or I would have probably secured here instead of here. I would have closed 50 here instead of here. I would have like cut my losses here a lot quicker if I saw this now, right? So just make sure you guys are doing that. I know it's tedious. I know it's annoying. You guys don't feel like doing it. You think your time is better spent somewhere else. It's not. I promise you. This is gonna get you better. 1 hour. That's the 1 hour, 30 minute. Again, just taking multiple screenshots. And I typically finish around like 15 to 20 screenshots per trade. Just because I get all the other time frames. I basically take a screenshot every time I take an action here. So that is, and as you guys can see, the 30-minute ended up rejecting this level, right? We ended up pushing all the way down into here. I'm actually no longer in this trade, by the way. I closed it out by accident, meant to secure a piece. But this candle ended up pushing all the way down into these wicks over here and then rejecting and pushing up. This current 30-minute candle has no top wick yet, right? So can we just be grabbing liquidity and then coming back up and then maybe retesting this area, right? So that's the 30-minute. I don't want to spend too much time on this just because I want to check out some of your charts. Team created top wick. That's the low of the week. They're bullish. There you go. So everyone understands this entry right here in this setup. This candle has that bottom wick. We closed below that support. Once this candle creates its top wick, wait for that top wick. And then once it passes the low of that candle, a lot of times when you get volume, you get a nice little push right there. Let's scale this just a tad. Sharma, what happened with those Warriors last night?
I was expecting them to lose because they won the first 3 games of this round.
Yeah.
And Game 5 is usually what they have been taking it to for most of the playoffs and all of that. So sure. I was expecting them to lose yesterday's, and then tomorrow I'm expecting a much better game.
Okay.
I'm excited for today's too. I want to see who ends up winning, whether it's going to be the Heat or the Celtics. I'm kind of rooting for the Celtics because I do want the Warriors to go up against them in final.
Okay.
Wait,
I'm sorry. Who did you say?
I'm voting for. Everyone's saying let's go Heat. I'm voting for Celtics because that's a very strong team. And so if they end up winning, then the Warriors are going to play them in the finals.
Okay. Yeah,
Heats are good too, right?
Celtics are beasts.
Yeah. Heats are good too. Celtics might be hard.
Secure first position at 15 picks, stop loss, break even. Second.
Either way, I think it's going to be really fun finals to watch.
Oh, yeah.
So once Stefanos is done with the journaling here, I'll go over the US 30 and what pretty much I'm looking at.
Absolutely. So it was once we hit like 30 pips down here, that's where I was like, okay, let me just secure another little piece of it, just because we had that area to the left over here that we were just tapping into.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more so, yeah. So. Got that. Break down US 30 right after.
I'll go over Bitcoin as well. Sure.
Go over everything.
I'm not trading Bitcoin. I've took like a couple of scalps here and there for that, and also Ethereum. But right now, that's not something that's interesting to me just yet.
Alright. So now that I have like a lot of my screenshots, typically I would go back into the 5 minute and the 1 minute and take screenshots of that as well. And then eventually like end up taking like after pictures of all the time frames also, just to give yourself that the data, the screenshots, everything that you can look at, and basically pay yourself tomorrow, so that you're better tomorrow. I know that sounded ridiculous, but it's giving you some data to look at for the future so that you can get better. That's basically what I'm trying to say. But what I like to do is add some labels here. So this is a win, successful runner two, more than 10 pips. And yeah, but what I like to also do real quick is, let me just make that the cover. What I like to do is going back into some of these trades and look at what I wrote here. So these are those long descriptions I was just talking about. You really don't need to be doing this, but if you want to talk about fundamentals, psychology, what you were thinking during the trade, all that stuff, this is great. But what I like to do is do a full later analysis over here. That's why I have this pink label over here on this trade. So what I went into here is wrote a little later analysis here, and then for the date as well. So great job capitalizing on that 815 volume, and great job on the full close at 30 pips. Wow, sounds just like the trade I just took. Not much I would have done differently on this one. So this is an earlier later analysis. Then I went in on April 28th, and I said that wasn't really a fake out. You just placed the zone in the wrong area. Should have been higher. Look to the left. So as you can see, as time goes on, you start to gain more experience and start to notice more and more things. Start looking into it more frequently, and again, you look at it with more experience, and you feel a lot better, a lot more confident. So maybe start doing this with your trades, and you're going to start to see a massive improvement. But if not, it might take you a little bit longer for your career to progress. So do you want to break down US 30?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool.
Alright, yeah, start off from the monthly real quick, please.
Sure. Did you want to share your screen, or did you want to...
Yeah, I can share my screen. That's
okay.
fine. Alright, come out to Zoom, share screen. Everyone's able to see this?
Yep.
Alright, awesome. So I'll start off with... let's start off with the quarterly just real quick, just to see that we're sitting at these all-time high levels, and then we'll drop down to the monthly time frame, and we'll actually start marking off things there. So the very first thing that I'm going to mark off is going to be this consolidation support, right? So we could clearly see that there's consolidation forming here, and overall we've just been in this massive push up. But one thing to note, something that I found very interesting, was that every time there was some sort of economic correction is what I would call it, coming up, we've stalled out at these all-time high levels, and then we've seen those corrective moves. So this is pretty much your early 2000s correction that we had, and then you had the 2007, 2008 correction that we had. We stalled out in around 2016. We started to see that from an economic perspective again, and then saw it again, getting closer to 2020 area right here, and then we had a nice rally up for the last 2 years before we stalled out and pretty much did the same exact thing. So just looking at from a technical perspective, we had indications, and it's pretty much the same thing right now as well, where we've had these indications. Another level that I'm going to mark off is going to be that bottom wick rejection for this monthly candle. So let me round up these levels here first. So 33,800, we'll just call it flat. And then also right here as well, so let's just say 3,700 flat. So these are the two main levels I'm going to mark off, and then after that, an area of interest for me is going to be somewhere down here. But somewhere, as price drops even into this area, I do expect to see some actions coming from the Federal Reserve, like they did back in like 2020, where they legit stopped trading, where they said you couldn't sell any of your stocks at that time. If you had like Robinhood or TD Ameritrade, it was a huge thing, right? Everyone was like blowing up about that on social media, and that provided liquidity where we saw that massive rally from. So I do expect like some sort of actions to kick in by this point. And a lot of this sell-off is again happening because of the economic conditions. We're talking about inflation, but mostly we're talking about interest rates increasing. And from an economic perspective, are we able to handle those interest rate increases? So that was all the consolidation. And then last month we closed below it. The thought process here is waiting for price to create that topic rejection, kind of grab that liquidity, and as we drop down to lower time frames, hold on to a clear resistance into this 33,800, almost 34,000 area, and then flip back down. And then once we break its own low, then we're headed back down to this 28,000 level. Then you drop down to the weekly time frame, and again you could create a zone here, so that's what I'll mark off right at this level, where price did fake out below this a couple of times, but for the most part we just held on to consolidation here. Once we've rejected this, that's the last fake out that we had below this 33,800. Once we rejected off of this level here again, we pulled back, pretty much grabbed liquidity from all this consolidation, and then it's been a massive sell-off. So we have yet to correct this entire sell-off, maybe come back into these areas here a little bit higher, and then continue selling off from there. But for that to happen, obviously we need short-term positive news coming out, short-term positive fundamentals. So we're still kind of waiting on that, right? And then if you look at exactly where did price bounce off of here as well, so it is that minor consolidation before another rally up, and then we ended up consolidating. So these are the levels that I would kind of watch out for when dropping down to lower time frames, because these are going to be important levels. And then when you come onto the daily time frame, you see consolidation here again, right on right below the zone, and then you get a pullback. And then where do you get a pullback into this messy price action where again you're generating that liquidity? How do you know it's liquidity? You see a rally up happening, and then again you grab that liquidity here, and then you see another rally up happening. We come into the same exact areas here on the daily time frame, and then make a bottom wick rejection and give you a nice corrective move. Right now it seems like, you know, we're ready to push down, maybe come back and grab some more liquidity here before we can see any sort of corrective move, but we are pretty much officially now into this bearish market. When I drop down to the 4-hour time frame and look at the consolidation here again, what is price doing? It's all this consolidation that's forming right at this level that we have discussed, like on the daily time frame, the weekly time frame, and all of that. Once price broke out of it, we got some sort of a retest. Price held onto it as support, came up, barely broke the highs, right? But we're pretty much respecting all of this right here. Does that make sense so far for everyone?
Yep.
And then we're starting this sell-off. So the quick sells that I'm into was pretty much based off of resistance being held here, and potentially can we see price pull back into these, you know, previous lows before continuing to push back up to correct that move off of the daily and the weekly time frames. Drop down to the hourly time frame, and then you get a nice consolidation right here. Right below the consolidation, you get a break and retest, right? And then that break and retest also happened in that consolidation where you had that candle close, the next one made a top wick, and then it continued down, broke the previous lows. So now the thought process is, are we going to end up coming back into this resistance area, which based off the 4-hour time frame is that consolidation resistance right there. So pull back into that, hold on to it as support, and then continue pushing back up. So that's what I see at the moment, and overall, again, we are in a bearish market now, so we just need to wait for some of these corrective moves and then a continued push down. There's a lot of liquidity areas that we could potentially tap into. For example, we just tapped into the support, and then the next liquidity area is going to be this resistance level, and then a continued push down. But in order for that to happen, obviously you need some of these lower time frames to change structure, the short-term structure, and then continue pushing up bullish. Any questions about this before we move on to Bitcoin? All right, so let's move on to Bitcoin. So again, this is not something that's really interesting to me just yet. There were like some minor moves for scalps and a couple of swings, you know, in the past 2 years or so, but right now it's not anything that's quite interesting to me. So of course, the all-time high levels, we'll mark that off. So 61,400, And then I'm also going to mark off the support area, which is, clearly price tapping into, and this is the range that we stayed into all of 2021, where we were bouncing between, this 36,000 level and then 61,400 level. So let's just call it 34,800 flat. And then finally breaking below that, when you come onto the monthly time frame, there's clearly nothing stopping us from coming all the way down into these areas here, which is at 15,000, 16,000 mark. You go onto the weekly time frame, so let's take a look at what's pretty much going on here. Again, all that consolidation. For the most part, this is where we came to grab our liquidity prior to continuing back up and consolidating between the 60,000 mark and this 36,000 mark, right? So we've tapped into it a couple of times here already. So you've had your first consolidation before a nice rally up, got a nice corrective move, and then again rallied up to 60,000, and then came right back into that area, grabbed liquidity again, and then now we started that bearish trend to the downside. Right now, when you look at the weekly time frame, clearly you're starting to see that there is volume dying down here, where we've had a massive sell-off, a nice sell-off here. The candle closed below this weekly level and this monthly level. The following one took us even lower, tapped into that 24,000 mark, and then we start to see the volume kind of dying down. It makes sense when you apply the basic, bear structure, bullish structure, uptrend, downtrend into this, where it's pretty much where you've had a nice sell-off, you wait for a corrective move, and then you've had a nice sell-off here again. So we have yet to come back into these areas, right, and correct into this and then continue pushing back down from there. So I do expect in short term for Bitcoin to gain a little bit of more strength, come back into this 35,000, 36,000 area prior to continuing to push back down. So anywhere into these areas here, really, I'm expecting price to tap into and then continue to sell off from there. Because from a fundamental perspective, there's really no strength for Bitcoin. When you come onto the daily time frame, it makes it even more clear what we were just discussing on the weekly time frame, where you see the volume dying down. You start to see the consolidation, prices holding on to these consolidation levels, mark off where is the support, right? And then when you look to the left, that's exactly where we have tapped into when price did, every time it ran out of any sort of volume, what do? We come right back into these areas, right? So that's what I'm expecting to see, and then a continued sell-off from there, because at each of these points, you had the market sentiment, the positive sentiment from the retail traders, and also from, at one of these points, we were also gaining some sort of institutional interest, but right now, there's no fundamentals whatsoever kind of supporting this Bitcoin rally. Instead, now you're starting to lose the retail investor interest as well in Bitcoin as soon as we drop below this 35,000 mark. If anything, we're waiting for price to come back even lower, maybe into the 20,000 or 15,000 marks to see some sort of strength, and then probably another rally up. Any questions about this before we go ahead and move on?
What did you guys do? Bitcoin?
Yeah, we did Bitcoin, and then we did US 30 as well.
Nice. Yeah, I love the breakdown in US 30. A lot of info impact. So anybody? Actually, if you could just tap on Jamie's chart, he sent one a while ago.
Yep.
For all the basketball banter.
KB, I'll also answer your question right after I see it. All right.
EJ, beautiful. Jamie, do you take this?
Yes, sir.
My man. Let's go. Good stuff. Where are you at right now? I know you sent this a while ago.
I was able to secure a 1-to-1, and then it started doing a retracement at that the TP area.
Yep.
So I figured fill that bottom wick and started pulling back. We have that 8:30 news coming. I'm like, let me just let me get out of this. Feeling a little funny, and I'm gonna wait for the news to pass. And I want to see it break that TP area, that bottom wick, and start continuing down again before I look for another entry.
So you closed the full thing at 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Do you like the entry here, or is there anything you would have done differently?
I like the entry. It's just, I don't know, the way it started rejecting with those bottom wicks, it just kind of gave me that, okay, what are we doing? Is news going to really, push this thing back up? What's going on here? So it's just a comfort level.
Okay. So I'm guessing you were just waiting for. I can't zoom in there. You were just waiting for the this wick to be broken.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say you could have taken this right as this candle flip bearish, anticipating the volume. Like that's good during the New York session, during the London session when you have a lot of volume. As long as it respects the high of this wick right here, it's good. You place your stop loss right there. We should be good as long as this candle flips bearish. Should be continuing down into this area. There's nothing really stopping it, right?
Okay.
So, but I love the entry. Love the way you secured it 1-to-1. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that was perfect.
And
Thank you.
is this your actual first trade on EJ?
This is the second one. The first one I
Oh,
took
you
yet.
got the first one yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm there. Keep it up, buddy. All right. Do we have any other charts?
No charts, but KB had a question about the meeting minutes today, so I do expect it to be pretty much. So the question, let me read it out for everybody, is with FOMC meeting minutes, Vijay, do you expect further USD weakness due to the way consumers are reacting to interest rate hikes, therefore a weakness in US 30? Also, if I'm correct. So I do expect it to be the meeting minutes, I expect that to be very similar to the last one that they had, where they pretty much talked about, inflation due to Russia and Ukraine's war, and then also reducing the balance sheet and the steps that were going to be taken to reduce the balance sheet. And then they were talking about higher energy prices and all that stuff, and also PCE. So yes, I do expect it to be very similar to the last one, where overall the sentiment is still going to be a weak dollar, where they are still talking about increasing interest rates. You still have the same exact issues, you still have the same exact actions being taken as well, where nothing has really changed. So for overall, I do expect it to have the same exact effect in the markets as the last one, and kind of follow the same exact wordings as well onto the charts. In that case, that's where you hop up to these 4-hour and daily time frames and take a look at where is price headed. So we are rejecting some of these daily levels, and we are pushing down. So by the time that FOMC meeting minutes do come out, I'm expecting price to be somewhere lower down here, and then we could see some consolidation and then volatility as the market starts pricing all of that.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. You want to go ahead and screen share, Stefanos?
Sure.
And then we'll just continue the analysis from there. If you guys have any questions, even on YouTube, just feel free to ask, and we'll be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, guys in the chat, guys on YouTube, if you guys have any charts or any other pairs you want to break down, we'll do it right now. E24, we do have fundamentals coming out. Obviously, Sharma was just talking about it.
In like 6 minutes.
Anybody have any questions about the journaling as well before we keep moving on? So you guys get some good clarity on that. And we'll be diving deeper into that also on Saturday as well, and really how to analyze your trades, going through multiple trades. We could go through some of our previous trades as well during that webinar too. But again, like the number, the highest ways and the best ways to get better is just sending other people your charts. Doesn't even have to be us. Find a running mate. Find somebody that you're trading with. I know Kat has somebody like that. She's got a bunch of people like that she loves bouncing charts off of. So just keep bouncing charts off people, asking their opinion, see if there's anything that they would do differently. But, if you want to do it with us, I mean, that's probably your best bet. Just so that we're
100%.
all in line. Okay, so we got core durable goods coming in.
I don't expect that to have too much volume besides like probably the 15-minute, 30-minute time frame. I think the greater emphasis is going to be on the FOMC meeting minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. So he basically said that the problem is the same across the board. It's just that the responses are going to be different. So for right now, the sentiment remains for Bank of Japan to have their accommodative monetary policies. They're not really changing anything in that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting them to.
Yeah.
They're pretty predictable in that way. I bet they're definitely concerned about Taiwan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because like the past months, I would say, I've only been paying attention to world economic news and forex news, stuff I need to pay attention to for trading, but not so much like news, like what's going on the news and stuff like that. I haven't, I didn't know. I knew that this was definitely a possibility, especially when Russia was invading Ukraine, that China could invade Taiwan. But I didn't know that this was getting so serious. Like they're actually thinking about doing that because
Yeah.
I just haven't been following the news the past couple of months. It's so like it's such a distraction being so wrapped up in the news. It's such like almost like a waste of time to be so concentrated on the news and what's going on. It dampens your day, right? You check your phone as soon as you wake up in the morning and you see like news of something happening. I mean, prayers up for the people yesterday with what
Yeah.
happened in Texas. Like that's insane. And like
Yeah.
that's just depressing, like looking at that every single day. So you just try to like channel your way out of it and pay attention to the what the main thing is, and that for us is world economic news and what's going on with our data. But
I think it helps learning how to filter some things out too, where in the news they're always going to show you something bad that's happening, right? Very rarely do you see something good happening. And so a lot of the times, yeah, you're right, like, it is depressing and everything like that. And I'm not saying like it's not good to know what's happening around the world. Of course, you should know what's happening around the world. But it also helps you kind of understand certain ways that media also, not talking about like yesterday's being the exception, but overall in general, media also shows like certain sentiments, right? It's good at depicting certain sentiments,
mm,
but that's what you kind of have to be good at filtering out. Like, what does this exactly mean? Is it really as bad as they're making it seem? Because obviously the media's job is to emphasize it. If they don't emphasize it, they don't get views. If they don't
yeah,
get views, nobody's really getting the money there, right? And so things like that where it's good to be aware of everything, but also good to also understand how to filter a lot of these things out.
yeah. And it's not only with like just news, but like being able to filter things. Like you guys as entrepreneurs and as traders are all your own boss right now, right? So you are. We do live in a society where everything's a lot easier for us. We have a phone in our pocket. We have information at the tip of our fingertips whenever we want it. But at the same time, we have a lot of distractions, more distractions than we've ever had in human civilization, right? Like
Yeah.
you have everything from your phone to TV to family to friends, and everyone wanted to do everything. And so, being so inundated with so many things going on through your life, you have to be able to control your time and control what comes in and outside of your thinking. Right, so you got to be able to control what you intake as far as news, what you intake as far as information and stuff like that, and as far as entertainment and all that stuff. You got to be aware of what's coming in and out. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm talking about when it comes to like the news. Like I'm taking in the news that I need as far as like all these different forex websites, Bloomberg, all that stuff. But like I'm not taking so much into the CNN, Fox News, that kind of news. Like that you really a lot of that you really don't need. And you got to be able to filter that out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So
So go.
8:30.
Yeah. So the news just came out. But again, like last point on that topic, just to reiterate, know what's going on. It's good to know what's going on. A lot of stuff like yesterday's, like the Texas shooting and everything, is not something that we should be okay with, and it's definitely not. Things like that happening is definitely not okay. But we're talking about other things in general that aren't probably as bad as media makes it seem, right?
Mhm. GJ, I mean, would have been a nice runner over here if I didn't close the full thing by accident over here. But you did get a top wick over here in the 15 minute,
This could be a
right? So,
potential scaling. Sorry to cut you off, but potential
yeah,
scaling. Yeah.
absolutely. Nice volume at 8:30. This candle created its top wick. Pass below that candle. You have a wick to fill here, and price to continue down. Looks great. Is anybody in right now?
Not in that, no.
Yeah, Sharma, I saw your boy get very animated last night.
Who?
Steve Kerr.
Yeah,
Did you see that video?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
You didn't see the video of Steve Kerr last night?
I know a
Wow.
lot of people were posting it, I just didn't get the time to go back and watch it.
Oh, okay. Um,
Was it about um, the shooting and everything?
yeah, he's
Not Curry,
starting to
Luis,
get very
the
emotional.
coach, Steve Kerr.
What's up?
Luis was asking what did Curry do? Not Curry, Kerr.
Oh yeah, no, not Curry. Steve Kerr shooting reaction. Yeah, he got animated. I just sent it to you. So anybody in GJ right now? I want to take a look at gold real quick. See, gold is obviously breaking this resistance over here. We got bad news coming, not bad news, but bad data that came out of the U.S. when it comes to core durable goods. We missed the mark. We missed the previous as well by a lot. So we can expect gold to continue to rally over here and hold that support. We got a nice, strong bullish candle formation on the 1 hour with a wick to fill. Bottom wick formed on this candle, past the high of that candle already. So can we be continuing up? Let's look at the other time frames. 4 hour. Hard rejection of this area like I was talking about. Where is it? Yeah, we were talking about this whole like area in here being like a possible fake out. This move right here. We're now rejecting this area over here. And starting to reject this area mainly. And if you look to the left, you get this whole range right there. So can we be flipping bullish over here and maybe continuing up to retest the high, print the new high right up here? All right. Many things that can happen. But again, I mean, the monthly on gold is very interesting because, like I said, I could very well see this being like the pricing in of the rate increase, and then obviously we have a lot of the fear in the market right now with the markets and increasing interest rates and all that stuff, and do we have a solid enough economy to actually do so? So can we be bouncing off this area and continuing up, or are we going to find some kind of a resistance anywhere in here? They announce the increase rates, or Powell gets more and more hawkish, and then we continue right back down.
Mm-hmm.
So many things that could happen. Like right over here, the current daily candle is bearish at a previous support. So can this be the official resistance for us to now start breaking previous supports and continue back down and retest lows around 1790, break 1830 again? Apologize if it looks a little messy right here, but just look at the candles. Understand like the formation of lower lows and lower highs. Just because we broke this trend right here doesn't mean that we're not, just creating another lower high where the actual trend is going to be somewhere right here and price just continues down from here.
Something that I want to touch on the economic data side,
Yeah.
when it comes to the core durable goods and all of that. So you guys may have heard us talk about many times how you can use all these different economic data points together to kind of figure out like, okay, what's the next one going to be like, right? Especially if you're looking at, for example, like PMI or labor markets or anything like that, and you can kind of figure out like, okay, where are we sitting at when it comes to things like NFPs, when it comes to things like CPI coming out, those type of things, right? So even with core durable goods, for example, if you were to go flip to that tab real quick, Stefanos.
Yes.
So even with core durable goods, if you just click on the folder, so this is what it is, the change in the total value of new purchase orders placed with manufacturers for durable goods, right? That itself, this one's particular is it's excluding the transportation items, but durable goods would include that. So what does this basically mean, right? When you look at yesterday's flash manufacturing PMI coming out, and you look at previous production data that we have coming out in the last month or so, this already tells you what kind of data can we already expect. The flash manufacturing PMI tells you that we're already slowing down on the manufacturing side, right? Why are we slowing down on the manufacturing side? Because there are less orders that are coming in. Why are there less orders coming in? Because there are consumers who have less demand for that product, or who don't want to buy that product anymore. As things start to get more expensive, people will be changing their priorities, right? People will be changing their kind of spending habits, going from, this is things that I want, or this is things that just, or these are things that I need. And they will be focusing more on the needs rather than the wants. So you will start to see this kind of slowdown happening. The way that you could already kind of predict what's going to happen with the durable goods is, again, using what happened with manufacturing PMI. How do you predict manufacturing PMI? You look at previous manufacturing and production data, and you put that together, and that kind of already paints a picture for you. So that's why it's important to know all these small, orange and yellow folders, because they make up those red folders. They make up the NFPs, they make up the CPIs, they make up the PCE, and then they also make up, interest rates and those kind of things.
Absolutely. All right, so yeah, Sharma, while you were saying that as well, I was also looking at this level that I was kind of marking off as like a fake out over here. If you look to the left, previous support, and support in that area. So you may, and you could obviously thicken that out a little bit to right there. So now, if you think that that's a valid daily bearish candle right here, right, and we're going to hold resistance and continue down, you know now that you're going to have safe sells below 1850 right here, right? Price keeps bouncing off that area. We could be creating a higher low off 1850 to continue up. But right now, if you want to take sells, I would wait for that break and definitely a retest right here. And you're going to have yourself a nice move back down to 1830. Make sense? And again, you're going along with the trend. You're going along with the fundamentals that gold should be bearish right now, as far as interest rates are concerned.
So I will have to hop off in 20 minutes.
Okay.
So if there's any questions, again, that you guys may have, feel free to ask. Or you can reach out to either of us. On Instagram would be the fastest way to get the response from me. But you could also, if you're on YouTube, then you could just comment under the live session here, and then I would respond back to that as well. But for me, it would be SharmaFX on Instagram, and then Stefanos is StefanosFX28.
Absolutely. And if there's anybody on YouTube that would like a Zoom, I'm sure Sharma will do it too.
Yeah.
If you'd like a Zoom, if you're going, you're struggling with overtrading, or your psychology, you're just not, you're in a rut right now, or whatever is going on, just message one of us. We'll hop on a Zoom with you, see what we can do as far as helping you out. And 30-minute Zoom, nothing too quick or too long, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Yep.
No charge at all either.
100%. The only charge we have would be for the boot camp, which is coming up, on Saturday. So if you guys want to join that. So I am getting a lot of questions about that as well. So just to kind of clarify it for everybody here. If you're looking for, what's the best strategies or anything like that, we're going to be discussing a couple of different ones that we have tried. Again, we're not claiming that these are the best or these are the only ones. Every trader is different, and we have emphasized that many times, where you are going to use, things that I use in my trading, things that Stefanos is using, things that somebody else is using that you may be watching, and you're going to come up with a combination of, all those strategies and something that's going to work for you. So that's the whole point, where every trader is different. Nobody's trying to push their own, this is the only way, this is the holy grail or anything like that. It's nothing like that. So be open to different ideas, be open to, using a combination of what other people have done and what has worked for them, and test it out and see what works for you. So we are going to be having our boot camp on Saturday, but the registration for that ends on Friday. If you are in either of the groups, you don't have to worry about the registration. You would automatically get access to it.
Yep. I wanted to point something out real quick on GJ over here. What you guys were probably looking at was that like we created this low down here, right? And then we came up, retested this range over here. Looked like we retested some of these wicks and created that resistance with this candle right here, right? The problem is this candle has no bottom wick, but the thing is this candle created a top wick, which is valid. Once it passes the low of that candle, this could be a sell. Just make sure that at that support, when you get barely a candle close with no wick over here, when this candle creates a top wick and passes the low, just know that you should be securing at the low, right? Secure most of that position because a lot of times this will happen. We've seen it many times on GJ. So just be aware of that. It's a little hint for you. Tip. So I'm just going to take another screenshot right now.
Overall, does everyone understand what they're looking for on their respective pairs? Alright. Cool. You know, we haven't done a simulation session on YouTube in a while.
Yeah, we should do one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're doing one for the boot camp too.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely be doing one soon.
Mhm.
Maybe next weekend.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Let's see.
Usually I do my weekly simulation sessions on like Fridays. So if that doesn't work, then we can do one like over the weekend, or we can plan one of those.
Okay.
The live New York sessions that we do right now, it's only once a week because of both of our schedules, and it's only on Wednesdays. But maybe in the future, if our schedules work out a little bit better, then we can probably increase that. But right now, it's only on Wednesdays.
Gotta get you guys to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Right.
I was there, man. I love that place. I love it so much.
Glad you like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs work. New York. It's not what it normally is.
Mhm.
Well, 1 second, guys.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Alright, sorry about that. Get a call. So, right now it looks like GJ is holding that support right over here. I'm glad I secured down here now. Price is now rejecting these areas, right? 4 hour. If you take a look, it looks like it's going to close a very nice 4 hour candle over here. Maybe you could possibly get like the top wick in the next candle and price continuing down to fill that wick and continuing this bearish movement that we had right over here. Right, we have the little retracement, resistance formed right in this area right here, and then price just continues down to fill that wick, and then eventually breaks 158 to continue through to 156. All right, let's look at the Japanese yen right now. The Japanese yen actually ended up breaking the previous resistance over here. Obviously, we've been in a massive bearish trend. Japanese yen is very weak right now. But again, we're holding this support. We've been bullish since May 10th, May 9th over here. How long have we been bearish on GJ? I mean, it's been printing lower highs since May 9th over here. But mainly it's because of the weakness in the pound. We'll see. So far, we keep respecting the support down here. We've respected it once here, 3 times here, and then once over here with this wick. So can we continue down here, or is this like a legit support for price to keep, starting to creating some lower high or higher lows? Looking at gold over here, 30-minute flip bearish. So we're holding that resistance in this key area up here. Now we like mark it off like right there. All right, so price keeps rejecting. Now we keep like rejecting multiple lows over here as well. We keep rejecting this area. So maybe you need a close below that area. 30-minute looks all right. Maybe you need a 30-minute close. Next one creates a top wick, breaks its own low, and then continues down into this area. But you may have safer sells, like I said, below 1850 here on gold. You have anything to add, Sharma?
That's pretty much it. Right now, I would just kind of stay out of this messy area. Honestly, just hop up to those hourly and 4-hour time frames, and that's kind of where my focus is. Not even on the 30-minute or the 15-minute. Because if you just extend that zone over, this entire area is a no trade zone for me at the moment.
With these wicks?
Yeah, all these wicks, and then how price has reacted here. You've had these fake outs and stuff. So I clearly want to see, either price bounces off of this and then we continue pushing back up bullish, and then looking for potential entries here, coming up to, minimum of 1900. So even breaking past this, I think once price does break out of this area, we will have enough volume to create new highs, which I think will be up in the 1900 areas. But if price does end up breaking below this, then we know at the very minimum it's coming back down into 1840.
Absolutely. And you could find like a key area somewhere in this vicinity. Price may be coming back down, grabbing liquidity with some wicks, and then holding a support somewhere up here, and then we continue up. But we'll see. See what we get. Looks like gold's dropping down over here right now. Anybody on YouTube? Any questions? Zoom? Gold's dropping. Question is, how could you have caught this? I like the resistance formed here on the 5-minute, and then this 5-minute candle close shows me that we could be changing direction once we get the volume push. 845, price is pushed down. Only thing is, I'm not taking trades based on the 5-minute. This 15-minute had no bottom wick over here. We passed the low. Now let's see if we end up bouncing off this area over here, because this candle did create a top wick, barely though, and pass the low right away. So can we like bounce off this area? We'll see. But nobody's got any questions? Andreas, you got nothing for me? All right. Yeah, I guess so, man. I'll take it. Waiting for clean setups. Yes, sir. Be patient, guys. Like I said, I mean, just one or two trades a day, 1 or 2 opportunities a day is all you need. If you guys can stick to that, you guys are going to be good. You're not going to be over trading, over risking, getting emotional. Those 2 trades, it's very easy to keep emotions out. Once you get to the 3rd trade, emotions start creeping in. A lot easier. All right. Want to wrap this up, Sean?
Yes, let's do it. Alright, so I hope, it clarifies for you guys what to look for the rest of the session. If you guys are trading, I'm pretty much done as of right now, as soon as we end the call here. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to either of us, and we will be more than happy to help you guys out. Once again, we do have the quarterly boot camp. We're going to start doing quarterly boot camps. It's going to be like, quick 3-hour sessions to pretty much help you guys out from the very basics to, how to take entries, how to manage, how to, like, trading psychology, wrap it up with a simulation session using all the topics that we're talking about. So it's going to be like those quick little, boost and like a weekend kind of a thing. And hopefully we'll be able to do this in person when conditions get a little bit better, and also maybe next year or so is what we're looking towards. But we will keep you guys updated, and we will see you guys next week for the weekly outlook.
All right, guys.